What's up, everybody? Once again, you are on Sherdog.com for The Trenches, the live chat featuring myself. I'm Anthony Walker, Sherdog contributor, joined once again by a very remarkable man. This man probably doesn't need an introduction because I'm sure you're already a fan. You've already requested his autograph. He's probably signing it as we speak, getting it to the mail for you right now. The incredible Captain Credential himself, Jason Burgos. Jason, how are you feeling, my man?
I mean, no matter what my mood, coming on and then hearing that introduction, I mean, how can you not get in a good mood? All I can really say is happy early Christmas to everybody, a late Hanukkah, a Kwanzaa, early Three Kings, whatever you will be celebrating in the next few days. Happy whatever to all of you out there, especially Europe One, that dedicated fan of the show.
Oh, yeah. Always shout out to Europe One. I'm sure he's got like 12 questions on deck. But yeah, I guess this is going to be our last show before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Because I grew up not celebrating holidays. Oh, yeah. See, I grew up not celebrating holidays. So like when holidays roll around, I'm grossly unaware and I just kind of float through life and that's just what it is. But I'm feeling real festive. Got some wild turkey, baby.
I got a flavored water, but that's still good enough. We can still clink glasses.
What's flavor?
It's actually grape flavored water. It's very good.
I thought only brothers drank grape. That's what's up, man.
I've lived in the projects my entire life, so we all know about grape drink and the projects.
Grape is fantastic. Grape is underrated. I love grape. Yeah, grape is the shit.
But like everything grape flavored, be it candy or soda, doesn't really taste like grape. It just tastes like purple sugar. No,
you know what? That's because I heard a podcast about this on like a Radio Lab or something, where apparently the grape artificial flavor is made out of other fruits and just random stuff that they piece together. But a lot of it has to do with like orange peels. Somehow they can take orange peels and make a great flavor from it. Whatever. Yeah. So before we go into, I know, right? Before we go into like the chemical process of how to make shit, and I'm grossly unprepared for that, I'll get on to another topic that I'm grossly unprepared for, and that's mixed martial arts. And let's start it off because we had a really busy weekend last weekend. So I don't know if you guys were following along on my Twitter or if you heard what I said at the end of last week's show, but I joined a good friend of the show, Matt Hunter, for his Mixed Combat Radio live chat. We were supposed to like commentate some of the fights, end up being us just drinking beer and talking shit. So yeah, that's what it was. So check it out if you are not up on this greatness on the broadcasting end with the homie Matt Hunter. But anyway, we had a lot to talk about. I mean, there were 2 Bellator events. There was the final UFC on Fox. There was also Canelo Alvarez fighting. There was Invicta, which I still have not been able to see any of. K1, it was so much going on. If you like people getting hit in the face, last weekend was it for you. And this weekend, I know we've got 2 heavyweight boxing pay-per-views. I'm not exactly, lining up to go see those, but on the mixed martial arts end, there isn't anything major. So we have kind of a holding pattern into the holidays and then into UFC 232. We're going to touch on that a little bit as well because Jon Jones had his VADA situation and whatnot. But let's go ahead and start off with the first question for today's show. The producer Jay, who is in the background doing what he does. Shout out to Jay. Appreciate all the work you do, homie. All right, so question 1 is from the Snake 101. He says, what do you think is Alaquinta's ceiling? I strictly believe that he won't rise above where he currently is at, which is inside the top 10. Why? Because his boxing, despite being powerful, is limited by his lack of ability to properly fight when he can't dictate the pace of the match. While the Snake 101 is very thorough in his analysis, and I think he gave us a lot to work with. So, Jason, I'm going to start off with you. What do you think about what Snake 101 had to offer for us?
I mean, it's an interesting question because you know what it is. It's not to say that Ally Quinta he can't get better and stuff like that, and he very well may be getting better, just on a very detailed technical level. Someone like myself maybe just is missing. But I mean, he still beat Kevin Lee. It was a very very close fight. It really could have went either way. A lot of people thought he clearly won. I wasn't sure about that, but I mean, it's still a big win. He's just not flashy. So when people aren't doing maybe flashy things or overly impressive things, people are of the belief they're not getting better or they only have a ceiling. Hence, someone like Edson Barboza, while having losses, big definitive losses, people always highly regard him because he's flashy. He does these amazing kicks and all that stuff. Or Israel Adesanya, who people are thinking is going to destroy the world to be the world champion soon and still has things to prove, but because he's flashy. So he's a very meat and potatoes kind of fighter. I don't know. Like, he's the kind of guy, because of that, like, he's going to be an underdog. And then when he beats people, then you'll be surprised. Sort of like in a weird way, like a Robert Whittaker. Like, for a long time, I underestimated Robert Whittaker, put him in there with people I thought he was going to lose. For sure, he'd lose to Jacare and all these kinds of names. And he went out and beat them all. And he's been fantastic. So he's the kind of guy like that. Yeah, he has a boxing base, but that's not uncommon, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's people that are still very good with that. So his ceiling, could he be champion? I don't know, probably not, just because the guys at the top are so good. He's probably just below that, but there's no shame in that. Guys like John Fitch, Josh Koscheck in their time were phenomenal fighters. They just happen to live in an era with GSP. Guys like Quinta, Kevin Lee, Dustin Poirier, we just might look at them 10 years from now like, man, those guys are really good, but they just happen to live in a time with Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think he's a very good fighter, and I think he can get better and win big fights. I just don't know if he'd go all the way to championship.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling where you're going with this, but the thing is about the top guys at lightweight is that at any given moment, almost any of them could actually be champion. It is not far-fetched to see Al go ahead and either decimate somebody altogether or to squeak out a decision and end up in a title fight in which he's able to squeak out a decision in. Like, that is not that far-fetched. And also a thing about a guy like Al, I mean, we talked about this a bit last week when we were making our incorrect predictions of Kevin Lee winning last weekend's main event, is that in order to beat Al, you have to excel in some area.
Yeah.
It's highly unlikely that a guy who is also have a meat and potato style, a guy who's also pretty fundamentally sound and just kind of good at everything is going to get over that hump and beat Al. That's something I don't see happen. I mean, if you have a guy like Conor McGregor, for instance, is an amazing striker, and he's an elite level striker for MMA, or you have a Khabib Nurmagomedov who is an elite level wrestler, or you have a guy who excels at jiu-jitsu. I feel like you have to have some overwhelming strength in order to beat him. And I think even if we've seen the ceiling for him, that's pretty damn far.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to get some more wins. I think even if you put him in against Conor, which is a matchup that is now being discussed thanks to Ray Longo's recent interview. I mean, if it's the same Conor that we saw 229, hey, Al could definitely win that one.
Yeah.
And find himself in a very favorable spot to earn another title shot. I mean, you really don't know. And the thing that's so deceptive about Al is that, like we said last week, this is a guy who from just a surface level analysis has not changed very much in the past 5 years. He really hasn't changed much. He's gotten a little better at certain things, but it would take a lot more detailed of a breakdown to where we would probably really have to go slow motion, hit the X's and O's on the screen and see exactly where his feet are placed and some of those really nuanced details to find improvement. In general, Al is the same, and it seems to be working. His ceiling, if his ceiling is top 10, top 5, or whatever the case may be, that is pretty damn high, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Will he get to the belt? I doubt it, with a guy like Tony Ferguson waiting in the wings, with Khabib holding on to that belt, who already holds a win over him, and to see like Conor McGregor, if he were able to get back to the form that he was at when he beat Eddie Alvarez, to see those three guys, I don't know if Al can stand that, but Hey, Al is he definitely solidified himself as an elite lightweight, and I don't think we need to question that any further. I don't think it's any knock on Kevin Lee as well. I mean, Al just did the damn thing, and that was an amazing performance for him to rally late the way he did. So yeah, there's that. I mean, great main event too to conclude the UFC's run on Big Fox. So all right, you asked for it. Now you got it, Jason. You asked for this. I was asking for it as well. The man himself, Europe One, has chimed in once again. Shout out to Europe One, who's kind of like the fourth man on the show at this point.
Yeah, unofficially,
yeah. We about to put him on the payroll. So Europe One says, so what do we do about situations like the Hooker Barboza beatdown? Should we give refs a greater power to stop one-sided carnage, or should the corners hold that responsibility? But how would they even be convinced to do that? Or is the answer just to ban Dan Hooker from the sport for being too damn tough? I like the way he concluded that. We definitely don't want to ban Dan Hooker for being too damn tough. No. The man is colossally tough. But if you are in the UFC, if you are a professional mixed martial artist, if you are a professional boxer, if you are a high-level jiu-jitsu player, if combat sports is how you pay your bills, you are a tough bastard.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. So let's end this whole idea of fighters being called out for not being tough or being scared, or the whole narrative of being too tough for their own good. Like this is an isolated incident. Every fighter is too tough for their own good. If they were so concerned about self-preservation and not being so tough, they wouldn't be fighters. They would be sitting beside me in my desk job. Like that's what normal people do. Normal people don't strip themselves half naked and beat one another to death. You know, so with that in mind, yes, the corners need to step in. Dan Hooker's corner needs to be embarrassed. The referee, why can I not remember his name? I mentioned this in my post-fight column, how when he stopped the Jared Gordon and Joaquim Silva fight, how that was such a good stoppage because it didn't wait for somebody to be near death for it to happen. You know, but then he completely reversed course, and Dan Hooker took a savage beatdown unnecessarily. Dan Hooker's corner should be absolutely ashamed of themselves, but I think more so we have a problem in the sport of mixed martial arts where throwing the towel is just not happening enough. It's simply not happening enough. It needs to happen more often. People are taking brutal beatdowns. Oh, Jay just let me know the referee name was Rob Hines. So Rob Hines definitely dropped the ball on that one. Dan Hooker's corner definitely dropped the ball on that one. My good, bad, and ugly column, I went into a little bit of detail with this, and I was very, very upset as I wrote it. And to quell my anger, I'm gonna go ahead and sip another this good old dirty bird right here, this wild turkey. Yeah, man. I as far as the refs having greater power, they have the power. They have the power to stop the fight. At any point, the ref can just stop a fight, but they don't do that. And I get why in some ways, but at the end of the day, it's all about fighter safety. And as much as we can be, considering they are beating each other. You know what, Jason, I'm about to start ranting. Please take over before I go crazy.
It's a fair question, but I want to, you know, it's easy to knock refs and stuff like that, and they give you moments during a fight and situations that it's easy and it's warranted to knock them, but it's a really tough job because you have to play it smart, you have to look out for them, but MMA, I think maybe even more so than boxing, is a weird sport where you really can look hurt and you can turn things around. Maybe if Hooker was like a Khabib and he had really been hurt bad, but he's a really good wrestler, maybe he could have got that takedown, got it to the ground, get us some. You know, it's a weird thing. I mean, we've seen guys with broken arms, you know, injured legs, whatever, and gut out wins. It happens. So you have to referees, I'm sure, have that in the back of the mind. You want to give a fighter all the chance in the world. The corner thing's a fair point, but in the end, the corner is just the extension of a fighter. Yeah, there are those corners, those really good veteran corners that, you know, they're tough enough and have the heart enough to say, look, it has to stop. We're done. They're not worried about the reaction their fighter's going to give, any of that stuff. But in the end, they're just an extension of the fighter. So they're a part of the fighter's mindset, and they're going to go until it's over. They're going to go until they're on the shield because they know that's what their fighter wants. They want to keep their fighter happy. And in the end, they have some financial gains from here too. They have financial gains for the fighter to win, personal gains. It's a lot for them. So expecting them, even though they should throw in the towel, it's just hard to expect it. And I credit to those corners that are willing to do that and take on the heat from their fighter, and even their fighter leaving their camp because they're upset because they're doing the right thing. It's just one of those weird, it's fight sports. I mean, yeah, you wish it can be fixed, but be damned if you were not impressed with the toughness of him taking those body kicks and still standing there and dealing with it. It's what amazes us about fight sports. It's what amazes us about MMA. It's just a part of the game. If you don't have the stomach for it, don't watch. But you're one, I know you do. It's just one of those things like eye pokes. It's just hard to fix it. It's just one of those weird things that's going to happen. Referees can maybe make the choice, but if he would have stopped him while Dan Hooker was still standing up, fans would have probably went, well, come on, he was still standing. Wait a minute, he wasn't down. He wasn't knocked out.
But we can't take too much into what fans say and think, because a lot of times they just don't know. Like, I've worked a corner before. I've been a cornerman. I've seen that. You see the aftermath of what these guys go through to a guy that you care about and a guy that you train with and you spar with and you coach him along and everything. And then the next day you don't recognize him. Yeah. Like that's some real shit, man. That most of these people have no idea what it's really like to be in that scenario. So I think we should have a problem with the sport itself when the corners are financially incentivized to keep this going. This whole show money, win money thing is perpetuating a lot of very, very dangerous things. And nowhere in the back of a cornerman's mind, when they are supposed to be overseeing their fighter's safety and their fighter's prospects of winning and taking care of themselves, should that corner ever have to think about a paycheck being affected by the beating that's going on? Like that shouldn't be allowed. I get why it happens, because at the end of the day, we all have bills to pay. We've all seen miraculous things happen in the cage, but the reason why they're miraculous is because it's the exception and not the rule. If you hit Scott Smith 1,000 times in the liver, 999 times, he's probably not going to land that bomb on Pete Sell to end the fight. If you were to be Pat Barry 1,000 times on Chet Congo, that end result is not going to happen. Trying to wait for these miracle moments, they're miracles for a reason. They are not something that's going to happen a lot.
You are totally correct, but is it fair to tell your fighter, I'm not going to let you get that opportunity? You're not going to be able to do that, and especially I think you really nailed the crux of it. Show and win is the problem. If a fighter was guaranteed 60 to 100 to be there and get in the ring and fight, I think that would change things. But, if not even for a personal reason, the corner knows, man, my fighter needs that win bonus or whatever because he's got to pay rent for his family or the house or the mortgage, So that may push him again to not throw in the towel because they know how important it is to just win. So I think that is the greater issue. If the decision-making would change a lot if fighters knew they were guaranteed a certain amount of money. Maybe a guy goes, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to tap here, or I'm going to go down here, and that's it. Instead of thinking, I need to get this win. And that is the bigger issue, because it would change how things are done on a lot of levels. Even maybe for refs. Maybe refs would know, maybe get in there more, because MMA is one of those sports. You can bounce back far quicker from a loss in MMA than you can in boxing. So I think that is the real issue. Good job by you, Anthony, bringing that up. Good job.
Oh, man, thank you, man. I strive for excellence. I'm so mediocre in so many areas of life. All right, so our next question is from Kevin Lee, probably not the top 10 lightweight, who we just discussed a little while back. Probably not. Maybe it is. Shout out to the Motown Phenom. What up, bro? All right, but Kevin Lee asks, why did Frank Mir have his daughter in his corner to watch him get brutalized? You want to start this one off?
I mean, Kevin Lee, if this is really you, Why not? You know, I get it. On a level, okay, yeah, you want to have maybe more professionals, you want to have coaches and stuff like that. But for example, Sam Alvey, I interviewed, he has his wife in his corner. I mean, I don't know her background, she's martial arts, but I doubt she's in the industry as a fighter. So, you know, that's what just brings comfort. And maybe hearing that voice brings comfort or whatever. And that's what Frank Mir wanted. Frank Mir is a veteran. He's not some rookie up-and-coming fighter. You know, in the end, when you look at a corner, there's really only one voice talking. Yeah, there's some other guys yelling and giving tips, but you probably don't need 3 to 4 people all yelling at one thing. You have to have one voice. And as long as he had his voice that he listens to, he trusts, if he wanted his daughter in there, maybe he, you know, he's at the end of his career. His daughter's jiu-jitsu, I think, like a jiu-jitsu champion or on the way to being that. Maybe she has hopes of being an MMA. Maybe he wants to give her a test as a father to a child, give her a test of being in the corner, being in the cage, you know, setting her up for bigger things to come. And that's his right. That's his right as a fighter to decide who's in his corner, and as a father, if that's part of what he's doing. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know what? She's seen her father come home from the Brock Lesnar loss and all these things before. You know, maybe it hasn't been closer, or maybe she has been in the crowd for these fights. So if it's a difference of being 5 to 10 feet closer, what does it matter? And she's used to her father. He's been a fighter for many, many years. She might end up being a fighter. So I don't see any problem with it. Was it unusual and unorthodox? Sure, but I don't know the dynamics of their family. So that's what they wanted to do. More power to it. If I was a kid of a championship level fighter and he wanted me to be in his corner, I'd jump at it too. And, you know, it's an amazing opportunity, and that's just how their family works. So it's fine by me.
Yeah, I don't really see much of a problem with it. It's definitely not the conventional decision. But, I mean, his daughter is, you know, a jiu-jitsu player. She's a wrestler, and she's, you know, developing her own combat sports career. Frank Mir is clearly not in this to work his way back to a UFC title. I mean, that's not what his objective is anymore. So I guess that in that case, aside, of course, from the physical damage that he's going to sustain, the seriousness in his career is kind of over with. At this point, he's just going to take whatever fights are offered to him. You know, I'm sure he might, if he decides to continue on, he'll have a fun matchup in there somewhere. Maybe we'll see him up as Rampage, or, you know, some sort of weird matchup that we didn't think about before. And if his daughter's along for the ride, cool. Like, just like you said, he's gonna go home with these same scars and bruises and blood on his face anyway. So if she's there when it happens and she's cool with that, and this is a life that she wants to get herself involved in, she sees it up close, she sees what it is, she can make a better decision for herself. I really don't see the problem with that. I mean, this isn't like when Mark Coleman lost to Fedor and his face was like hanging off, and he brings his 3 and 4 year old daughters there, and they're like terrified because, you know, daddy looks like a gargoyle now. Like that's not what this is. She's 15. She's into combat sports. Like she knows what time it is. So I don't see what's problem. And then also those examples, like you said about Sam Alvey, his wife, Mike Perry had his girlfriend. Mike I think Perry, they're back together now. So that's great. Young love, whatever. So they're you know, that was one of his staples in his corner, and that gave him whatever level of security or mental stability he needed to jump in the cage. That is fine. There's literally nothing wrong with that if that's how you function. So, cool. I don't see an issue with it, but it's just unfortunate for her to see, you know, her dad take that savage of a beating so close. But hey, so was the fight game. That's just what it is. It's no different. It's really no different than Wonder Boy's dad cornering him. Or Sage Northcutt's dad cornering him. Like the family dynamic has existed for a long time in combat sports, and it's never going to go away. It's a part of what it is, and so be it. I'm okay with it. All right. So next question.
I want to answer this one first after you read it.
What's up?
I want to answer this first and take this question first after you read it.
Okay, cool. All right, so I forgot that you're looking at the questions too, since you finally updated your notifications on the Slack chat. Like, shout out to you for not being trash no more. That's what's up.
Thank you.
All right, and shout out to this smooth taste of the wild turkey.
If you start slurring a little bit, then we know that's when the show's almost over.
Yeah, if I do, then we just make the show more exciting. That's all. All right. So no bias, just MMA asks, How good is Nieman Gracie, and could he be the most well-rounded Gracie?
This excited me because I chose to watch Bellator first and then watch the UFC next day. It has a little bit more meaning for me because I interviewed Nieman leading up to this fight. And in the interview, and I mentioned in the article on Sherdog, he talked about like he would have tricks for Ed Ruth, because I asked him, what if Ed Ruth wrestles you down and plays it safe on the ground and plays it careful and just rides out rounds and then rides out of the way? He said he would have tricks for them. He was prepared for them. And I was like, yeah, I know Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, sure. He did, and it was fantastic. One of the things that really stuck out for me is a point when Ed Ruth gets on top. He's a little forward over him, and Nieman triangles his legs. And it ended up leading to, like, he was in a stuck position on top, and it ended up leading to the sweep, with it ended up leading to the submission. But on that level, amazing. Ed Ruth, at some point, really, like, this guy's a 3-time NCAA champion, not like an All-American champion, one of the best wrestlers in Penn State's history, which has a great history, including Phil Davis. And he seemed like he didn't want to go to the ground with them at a certain point. Now, the key here, and I asked Nieman about this too, is that striking. And I asked Connery Gracie a few weeks ago about, is there going to be a Gracie that finally can become more well-rounded and not just solely based on the jiu-jitsu, Gracie jiu-jitsu? Can he become a striker like an Ortega or like a Jacare Souza that are well-rounded and dangerous in multiple areas? Connery was working on it. He's still young. Hope for the best with him. But Nieman actually showed it. I'm not saying he's an amazing striker by any means, but he was very competent. And in the Gracie fighters' history, be it Hodger, Henzo, Hoyce, Hoyler, Connery, Kron, they're not that great of strikers. That is always a clear weakness. That killed Roger Gracie in Strikeforce when he was making his way up and eventually met King Mo. He's just not a good striker. And if they can't get you down, it's a problem. His striking is very competent. He told me in the interview he had confidence even when standing. They're working on his Muay Thai, working on his boxing, and it showed. Very good kicks, and it looked like it wore Ed Ruth out. And it really affected him, and Ed Ruth looked tired. The NCAA champion looked tired by the 4th round, and then Gracie gets the submission. If he continues to work on it, he could be a dangerous enough fight, for assuming Rory beats John Fitch. That could be a good fight. Yes, I think that Nieman could be the most well-rounded Gracie we've ever seen, for sure. If he continues to grow, we saw it. That ground game is filthy. And if you're a wrestler, go on the ground on your own power with him. And if on the feet, Rory could take him, or great strikers maybe could, but he's competent enough. And I'll add this. They added this during the end of the fight. He works with Damian Maia's wrestling coach. And we all know how good Damian Maia was. He wasn't your traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu takedown guy. He had mixed in the wrestling lane in his career, and that's why he had that amazing run. So he's working with that guy, very smart. Striking is very competent coming along. Ground game is phenomenal. Yes, he could definitely, for sure, maybe 5 years from now, we go, wow, this is probably the best all-around Gracie we've ever seen.
I don't have a single point to counter anything you said. Like, I think you're spot on. And here's the thing about it too, man. I honestly, forgive me, I didn't read the Nieman Gracie article yet, so I haven't done a lot of my typical MMA reading leading up in today's show. So apologize for that, and I'll apologize by taking another sip.
Another one. Wow.
Oh yeah, well, feeling good today, man. Feeling good. But yeah, man, just beautiful thing, man. Gotta love my whiskey. So, but one thing that I think for sure is the case is that the Gracie family has established their legacy on stubbornness in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And it just takes someone to not be stubborn.
Yes.
Like their whole thing has been about just the superiority of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Yes. And not just Jiu-Jitsu, not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes.
We've seen the disagreements with 10th Planet founder Eddie Bravo. Mm-hmm. They've had a stubborn refusal to do but so much striking training or even strength and conditioning in modern MMA, and that's just not the current world that mixed martial arts has for you. Mm-hmm. Like you can't be so solely based in one discipline and expect to get but so far. Even Damian Maia, as much as we hold him up to be this guy who is an example of being a specialist in modern day MMA, like you said, his wrestling drastically improved in order for him to get it to the ground to use his jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I think that is something to keep in mind.
He
That
took Edwards down twice with double legs. That's a 3-time NCAA champion.
That is a huge deal. That's an absolute huge deal. And I think it would take a member of the Gracie family, and perhaps Nieman will be the first to do this, to like, I wouldn't say eliminate altogether, but to drastically reduce the amount of time spent rolling jiu-jitsu as opposed to striking and wrestling training. It would take a complete turnaround on their training schedule. I don't know if you remember this, but originally Damian Maia, apparently he was only training his striking like once a week.
Wow.
And the rest of his practices were grappling based. And like, you would have to flip that formula around. If you already have the pedigree of a Gracie member, like if your last name is Gracie, when you are born, you are already choking somebody.
Yes.
Like they come out putting the nurse in a guillotine. So
the umbilical cord.
You would have to just, yeah, for real, you have to just take a step back from that comfort zone and really dig deep and spend some time with some serious striking coaches and some serious wrestling rooms, and then improve on those skills. If Nieman Gracie is willing to put in that work, which it looked like he was against Ed Ruth, I think sky's the limit, man. I mean, he's 30 years old. It's not like he has all the time in the world, but he's still relatively young.
Yeah.
So he still has at least a couple of years where we could see steady improvement before the inevitable physical decline begins. So, hey, why not, man? I'd like to see it. I would love to see a Gracie family member, reclaim some of the greatness that they were able to establish in the early days of mixed martial arts. That would be a great time for everybody. So,
and you know what's funny about it too is that his mother is a Gracie, so technically his real last name is not Gracie. It's like Strabowski or something like that. Who he's like a black belt, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but his sister is like Henzo and Hoyce's sister and stuff like. I mean, his mother's Henzo, Hoyce's sister. So it's weird. He uses the Gracie name kind of almost like as a nickname or like a stage name. I don't know if he literally changed it or not. But that's the funny thing. If he is the Gracie to buck the trend, he's technically not named Gracie.
So what you're saying is he's the Nicolas Cage of MMA?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for those who don't get it, Nicolas Cage's real name is Nicholas Coppola.
Yep.
And yeah, but I'm going down a rabbit hole. Y'all want to hear that shit.
That's good.
All right, so going to our next question. This is from Bubba23. What do you think about the rumor that Viacom is putting Bellator up for sale? If true, who should buy them?
Wow.
I was hearing about this.
I didn't know.
I was hearing about these. Yeah, this actually, this is another reason why you need to get up on the Slack chat, bruh. So we did briefly discuss this. Jay and I think Ben Duffy jumped in on this a little bit on Slack earlier this week about the rumors that Bellator is up for sale.
That's bad.
I am quite honestly not very surprised by this. This is something I thought would happen. I thought Bellator would be involved in some sort of sale within the next couple of years, due to random circumstances. If I think the old Sherdog Radio Network archives are now gone, I'll have to hit up TJ and see if he's still got some of those on his hard drive. But if it's still out there, I do have it documented. I did predict this was going on, so boom, there's my hot take right there. But anyway, man, I do think that I think really DAZN would probably be the best place, the best entity to buy it out. I mean, they are broadcasting it now as part of their streaming package. But then on top of that, the issues with Paramount Network, trying to simulcast with Paramount Network, has dragged the DAZN broadcast down so hard. It's just so crazy. Watching it on DAZN can be very, very painfully slow. It's FS1 pacing times 10. It's awful to watch an entire Bellator event on that platform because they are trying to simulcast with linear television. So I don't see why they wouldn't want to. I mean, they seem to be on a nice spending spree right now, trying to acquire as many properties as possible. They already have their hands on Bellator right now, so why not just fully squeeze it? If Viacom no longer wants it, then why not have a combat sport property run it? Other than that, I mean, of course, this would be prime for the Fertitta Era Zuffa to run in and buy. I mean, this would be right up their alley. However, with current antitrust lawsuit going on and new ownership with Endeavor, I'm not quite sure that's what's going to happen. I would be highly surprised to see the UFC come in and buy out Bellator as a whole. I can see them taking advantage of any sort of contracts that might just be floating around or up for grabs. I can see them doing that and snatching up a Michael Chandler or MVP, some guys that might have some name value. But for my money, I say DAZN would probably be the best buyer for this.
I didn't know about the story, and it sort of sends a chill down my spine away, because that's bad news. That's very bad news, because the thing that Bellator has is that it has Viacom backing, which is a major media conglomerate. So it has tons of money. To be owned by that is a big deal, and to be sold, who knows who's gonna take it over. I don't think DAZN would take it over, and that DAZN is good. They're making these deals with fighters, these individual deals that maybe with Eddie Hearn. I forgot his name is
Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, those are kind of like unique in that the funding that needs to be had to run a promotion, I think, is kind of out of their realm. So I mean, to get full rights, maybe that'd be interesting, but that's scary, because if we all wondered, okay, Bellator is not really putting up great ratings. They're not taking it to another level. There's not like an increase. They have good product. They have good fighters. They're really expanding across the globe, but they're not putting up ratings. So it's like, how does that affect? Are they really making money? And that makes me wonder if Viacom, companies that feel there's something worthwhile that they can make money off of, they're not going to just get rid of it easy, because you got advertising dollars and all that stuff. If they feel like it's just not worth paying for because they own it, they're paying for the roster, they're paying for production, all these things, that's a bad sign that it's not doing to the level they want, and they're willing to give it up. And if Bellator were to leave, man, I mean, yeah, it would fill a void, and it would be a big void, and other companies can get people. But man, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it is true that they're bought by somebody that's as big as Viacom or close, because if they don't have that backing, it's going to be Strikeforce all over again. And that's the thing that's good about Scott Coker, is he puts on a good face. He talks about, oh, we're going to go to Hawaii every year, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then he did the same stuff with Strikeforce, and then all of a sudden Strikeforce was purchased by the UFC, and it really was a shell of itself for a few months and gone. So damn, that's disappointing. I hope it's not true. I hope it's just BS. Who should buy? I don't know. DAZN is an option. You know what? Maybe Fox, and they put it on FS1. That'd be interesting, because FS1 now has an MMA void. One didn't go there. They went to TNT. That'd be cool. That'd be a nice thing to fill it up. That'd be comparable, not the UFC, of course, but pretty like a close. So, damn. Hope that's not true. That's a bummer.
You know what? One possible buyer that it just really occurred to me just a few seconds ago, and this would definitely be very, very controversial, but it also seems pretty realistic. Ramzan Kadyrov could end up, would not surprise me at all to buy it out. I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember any of the details on this, but apparently through some sort of oil thing with some oligarchs and whatnot, he then tripped over a plastic bag filled with like $15 billion. And also the merge of Ahmed MMA with ACB, and with this influx of money, a guy who is obviously trying to have some sort of a permanent position in mixed martial arts, and he's kind of buying his way through it. This seems like a perfect thing for him to jump on, because no matter what, no matter how, ACB and Ahmed MMA have put out a very, very good product as far as the fights, the quality of the fights and the fighters. They do put on great shows, and I can't deny that, as much as I think his actions as a human being are deplorable and some of the people around him, but he's put out some good stuff as far as a promoter of mixed martial arts, as somebody who's in that world. And if he were to buy out Bellator, that would instantly make him a legitimate player in something that he's been trying to be a legitimate player in for quite some time. I don't think that is the best thing socially.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Or anything. I don't like, this is not something I'm condoning in any way, shape, or form, but it is something that is a very real possibility. If he does buy that out, we got to start asking ourselves a lot of questions as far as mixed martial arts goes. And then the TV companies that are choosing to stream it or choosing to broadcast and whatnot, there are some very, very interesting questions that will be raised. But do not be surprised if that headline hits your newsstand before long.
I would be surprised in that if it was privately owned, Bellator was privately, I could see it. I could definitely see it. But since it's a Viacom owned, Viacom has shareholders and all these things they still have to answer to, I don't think they'd want to deal with the publicity disaster of selling that to this guy, the vibe of Russia U.S. relation right now. And this guy's involved with human rights atrocities, politics, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think I'd be shocked. I'd be honestly stunned because it's just a bad look, and I don't think they want that kind of press for anything.
You know what? Honestly, I don't think the shareholders would give a damn. I really don't. I really don't think they'd care. I don't think it would be a slight concern for them, even because at the end of the day, the shareholders are all about making money. They would be dropping a property because it's not profitable enough. If you have a willing buyer, you shed yourself of this supposed dead weight. The company can move on to do whatever else it does. And hey, I don't know if you've seen that YouTube video from way back. Not my chair, not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You don't get that reference, do you?
No, I do not.
You're too young, man. You don't get that shit. You don't get that shit. But there is somebody who is laughing right now because they get it, and I salute you, whoever you are. But yeah, man. I think I don't think they really give a shit.
I mean, but if it affects stock prices and stock drop, you know, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, the stock would be more affected by having an entity that is considered dead weight, I think, than you got rid of something and some really shitty people happen to buy it. I think that becomes more of a danger to the shareholders holding on to something that they don't see profitable, they don't see any growth in. But also, too, man, how much investment has Viacom put into Bellator? Yeah. Like, have they honestly tried? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not. I mean, I think with Scott Coker, running things now, it's a lot better off than when Bjorn Rebney was there. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. But Scott Coker is also, the best promoter you can get outside of the UFC when it comes to MMA. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he takes a lot of responsibility for the upside in that. But Viacom hasn't been in full support, at least from my estimation. I don't know what goes on in those boardrooms, but it doesn't seem like it when you take away their prime positioning on a channel made for men to then put it on Paramount Network that has a mismatch of programming that seems totally unrelated to the demographic that you sought after so hard when you had TNA and you had Bellator and you had PBC, and you had all these properties that were centered around violent entertainment that young men like. I don't know how hard they're really trying. So maybe they just want to get rid of it, without being concerned about who picks it up and who cares for it. Because at the end of the day, man, all these corporations are evil. They all have some really nasty things in their history. And if you're going to be that woke about a lot of things, you got to start protesting everybody. You got to start being mad about everything. And it's tiresome. And it's hard to do that and live a regular life. So I don't think the shareholders for Viacom really give a rat's ass if this property ends up with a Chechen warlord, if they want to sell it. That's just my 2 cents.
No, we're still going.
Awkward silence. Awkward silence. Awkward silence.
Move to the next question.
So I should have, but I thought the camera was going to go back to you because I thought you were going to say something. But then I was like, I guess we kind of said it all. Yeah, so to go past these awkward moments, I like to take a sip of whiskey.
Oh, well, I'll have some.
All right, there we go. Oh, I had a little ice right there. No, ice and crunch the ice. All right. So now here we go. All right. So next question. So going back to DAZN, Bobby Boulder says numbers for the DAZN fights this weekend were quote unquote shockingly low. I think that's from a Dave Meltzer report or tweet. If DAZN were to bite it hard, with all of these big money deals. What happens to those deals if DAZN were to fold?
It's interesting. Are those numbers like DAZN all over the world? Like, I'd have to read the article, so it's tough. Is it DAZN over the entire network all over the world? Is it just the U.S. market? Because if it's a U.S. market, DAZN is still fairly new. Like, I'm sure the company kind of knows they're going to take a loss as they build this brand in the U.S., which you need the U.S. When I remember when I interviewed Alberto, the man formerly known as Alberto Del Rio in WWE, he's working for Combates America. He made the point that they were trying to get into the U.S. market and I asked him, do they need them or not? He's like, yes, because in the end, the language of money is English. So I'm sure they're probably going to expect it to take a loss at some point. That is surprising, though, when you have Canelo, who's a big ticket purchase by them, and if his numbers were not good, that's worrisome. Bellator, that's disappointing, and again, makes you wonder why. They see maybe why they may be getting sold, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't jump to conclusions just yet. Yeah, it's bad. That's if it's low. If it's the entire planet and all their networks in different countries and it's low, that's something to worry about. But I think they're still building the brand. I don't even know if the company's existed, how long it's existed. If James, you could look it up. How long has DAZN even existed? Is it like 3 years? Is it less? Is it more? I think it's still early stages. They have a 10-fight deal, I believe, with Canelo. They have a multi-year deal with Bellator. They're gonna play this out for a long time before we really know and continue to build a brand. So that's bad for them. But I mean, I watched DAZN. The thing I hate about it is, like you mentioned, it's slow. It lags at times. It's the loading is a pain in the ass, but it's still building, and I think it's a great thing because you got Combates America, you got Canelo, you got Eddie Hearn fighters, you got Anthony Joshua, you got Bellator. It's for a combat sports fan, it's a great site. So I'm hoping to develop. So I wouldn't get too worried about it yet and thinking about it folding. If that were to happen, that's still probably a year or two away.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think any talk of DAZN folding is very premature. They are backed by very, very, very big money, and they're still just getting their footing in the U.S. market. They have a very good roster overseas as well. If you were to be in Japan or in Germany or something, you're in any other country other than the U.S., DAZN carries a lot of very, very high value properties on it. The UFC is on DAZN in some countries. The NFL is on DAZN in some countries. WWE, they have the rights to a lot of properties in different countries. As far as the US goes and the numbers, I mean, honestly, I don't really think they really should give a shit about the numbers for this past weekend. First of all,
yeah, because if it's like Netflix, I mean, it's subscribers, not really even watchers,
Yeah, I mean, you had a trial month. I think this was supposed to be a trial month to get people enticed to watch Canelo, but he also was thrown in there against a warm body that had boxing gloves on and Rocky Fielding, and it looked just like it. I mean, he decimated him and barely cracked a sweat. It was pretty much exactly what anybody who has a casual interest would have told you. Now, I think the real test for DAZN, especially with the amount of money that they've thrown at Canelo Alvarez and Golden Boy, the test is going to be his next fight, that May 4th date that they're looking at, where I've heard a trio with Triple G is in the works, possibly. I've heard, although this would probably be less likely since he's more with PBC, but Jarmel Charlo being discussed, and then also he had Danny Jacobs was in the ring after the Canelo fight. So Danny Jacobs being a potential opponent. When you get guys that people actually want to see fight Canelo in there, then we'll have something. And if DAZN is playing this right, that ain't going to be a free trial month. That's going to be a month where you get a week-long trial. Half the people are going to forget about it, and they get charged with $10, and boom, got you for a month, biatch. Like that's really what's going to have to happen, and I think that's the way they should play it. That next fight is going to say what it is, because when it's a fight that we actually want to see, that we actually would pay for, hey, Canelo versus Danny Jacobs, shut up and take my money. Canelo versus Rocky Fielding, give me money.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Trash.
And let me add this, and I had like a back and forth with Matt maybe a couple weeks ago too. We're in a different age, and like we can't jump to conclusions on numbers right away. Like this was just this weekend. We are in an age where people do not watch things at set times anymore, especially this particular night of combat sports action was extremely packed. You had Canelo, you had Bellator, you had UFC, you had Invicta. Was Invicta on the same night?
Yeah, Invicta was right afterward. Yep.
Who knows what other sports are going around? Like this was a jam-packed night. I mean, I don't think it would be expected to get huge ratings anywhere. And the fact I saw UFC actually got really good ratings and stuff like that. So that means a lot of people watching that instead because they didn't want to pay the money to subscribe or get the. Well, that's right, they could have got the free month. So, but UFC was a good card. Last show on Fox. So this is a tough one, and also, you know, people watch stuff later. I watched the UFC the next day. You know, I'm sure some other you haven't watched Invicta yet. You know, other people watching maybe Bellator Wednesday, Thursday. You know, this is the kind of thing where we're living in an era you don't really get a true idea about numbers until like a week later, 2 weeks later. And I think even the UFC numbers, which were highly touted, I think I saw a headline saying they weren't as high as we thought, and they were closer to normal averages anyway. I don't know, Jay, if you could look that up. But and to go my point, I noticed Jay put it up too, that the Zone, founded in 2015, you know, launched in 2016. So the thing's barely 2 years old. In the US, it just came this year. It was in Canada last year. So, you know, it's fairly new. We definitely cannot get crazy over this.
Yeah, I mean, the Zone is playing the long game right now. They are not trying to make a quick flip to get some money. This is a long-term strategy that they have. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, 99 times out of 100, when you start a business, no matter how big or small, you are going to be losing money for several years before you start seeing a profit. So, you know, think about when you have these $100 million deals and whatnot going on. But you look at the lineup that DAZN is building up, and granted, the pacing is god awful. The pacing is horrible. You know, they obviously need some more servers because the damn thing buffers every 4 seconds. Like there are some serious fundamental problems with DAZN. But for $10 a month, I get Matchroom boxing. I get some Golden Boy offerings, including Canelo. I get, you know, I'll get Bellator. I'll
prelims,
get Combate.
All the prelims you get a Bellator.
Yeah. So there's then what else? They've had what other KSW is on there as well. And KSW, I'm just starting to get into KSW shows, and they put on good product too. So if you are a combat sports fan, I mean, this should be a no-brainer. I mean, now we're talking about where the casual fans are following it. But quite frankly, if every diehard fan of combat sports were to have a subscription to DAZN, they'd be just fine. They would be just fine, and this would not be an issue. It's well worth the money. So I don't see what the problem is. I'll bitch and I'll fuss and I'll moan and I'll complain about the pacing and everything else because hey, that's just what I do. I'm gonna do it, and nobody can stop me, especially when I'm sipping this whiskey.
And while you're sipping that whiskey, let me add one more point. If for people that watch Netflix is like in a humongous debt. Netflix is the biggest giant in paid for content service, and they're making huge money, but they're in debt because they continue to make content. They know that they continue to make content. They even made a story that came out this week. They plan to make 50 movies, 90 overall, including the documentaries and everything like that. And they're incurring debt because they know continue to put out content, quality product, in the end, they're going to make money. Same kind of deal. This is a paid for TV service. The Zone is building the content. They got Joshua, Canelo, Bellator, KSW, like all these brands. So yeah, they're just building the brand. They're taking the debt now because they feel this is going to be humongous money later. And we're in a market. Combat sports is popular around the globe. So as Jay showed us, sent us, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, Japan, Canada, Italy, US, Spain, and Brazil next year. They're already setting the markets up. So yeah, this is probably in the end going to be a money-making deal. Dave Meltzer, calm down.
But yeah, man, like, so the old phrase goes, it takes money to make money. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to make a lot of money, it's mm-hmm. going to take a lot of money. So yes. let's not start reading their rights just yet. You give them a couple more years and then we'll see where we're at. All right, so we're going to move on now to our poll question. Our poll question was, should Jon Jones submit to additional VADA testing? The current poll results are 70% say yes, 30% say no. Jason, what say you, my brother?
Jay, if you can, I was trying to look it up for the show to get the specific purpose and definition of what VADA is, because I saw the name in the headline that we were talking about in the discussion. I was like, wait a minute. I know USADA. I know WADA. What the hell is a VADA?
just another one. Just another one.
And
yeah,
it's voluntary.
Different.
You know, and from the basic, description I did see, and Jay can give us more, like they do voluntary work and then they hand over the results to the commission, which is great. But if it's voluntary, yes, with his reputation, you definitely want it. And in the way, he should take these opportunities to go, look, right in your fucking face, I am not using that. For the other times of bullshit, look, I did VADA, I did USADA, clean. But in the end, if it's voluntary, it's within his right to do it, to not do it. And if it's, I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they do a urine test. I don't know if they do a blood test. I remember years ago when they were trying to set up Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather, he didn't want to do drug testing because they took blood. And it was a big thing for him. Some fighters didn't like the blood drawn from them. I don't know, superstition, whatever. If he's getting multiple blood tests and he's getting it from VADA, he's getting it from USADA, I'm guessing it might be in his right not to have to. He doesn't have to do it. But like I said, on a press level, on a reputation level, on a clearing your name level, he probably should do it and show everybody, look, I'm clean. Doing this further makes people question him, which he does not need. But then again, he's Jon Jones, and he does not give a fuck about what you people think about him, even if he hits a pregnant woman in a car.
All right, so this is going to be one of the rare moments where I categorically disagree with you, Jason.
Ooh!
I don't think Jon Jones should submit to additional testing.
Okay.
So, because first of all, the whole idea behind the California State Athletic Commission trying to, I guess, quote unquote, mandate this or suggest it or whatever they were doing was really, really stupid. It was saying, hey, we're going to give you your license back, but hey, it would look good if you did this. If you go ahead and sign up for VADA,
yeah.
and then Jon Jones and his legal team say, yep, that's a good idea. We'll do that. We're going to think about that one. That's a fine suggestion. And then the moment they walk out that courtroom, like, yeah, okay, man, fuck all that. Like that's like, man, I ain't got time for that dumb shit. Yeah. And really, I think this goes back to more fighters' rights issues because USADA was thrust upon the fighters without them having a say in it. Now, I'm not debating whether or not it's good for the sport or good for the UFC or good for public appearances. I'm not debating that at all. That is a separate conversation for a separate time. What I'm saying is the fighters did not have a say in USADA coming aboard and getting themselves involved with the UFC. So now the fighters, without them having any say in this, they are now subject to submit their whereabouts every time they go on vacation, submit what their training schedule is going to be at, where if they're staying over a friend's house, they need to tell them they have an app made just to give their whereabouts to USADA, because at any moment somebody could knock on their door at 5 a.m. and start knocking on the door and say, hey, pee in this cup. We're going to take some blood. And why would you just volunteer for more of that shit? Yeah. He's already got USADA. Even if you think USADA is a joke, I have my issues with USADA as far as how they handled this whole Jon Jones situation. I've got my problems with Jon Jones's team behind this, USADA, the UFC, and the various athletic commissions that this has come up under. But at the end of the day, he's abiding by the rules right now. The rules don't say he has to volunteer. Why are you going to volunteer for something even more invasive? I get it from a public relations standpoint, but as you said, Jon Jones don't give a damn what you think. He don't care. Yeah. And if I were him, I wouldn't give a damn neither. Like I'm doing everything by the rule book, by what my contract states. Oh, by the way, my contract originally did not say I had to do any of this. So now I'm just going to decide, yeah, you know what? This isn't good enough. I got one group of motherfuckers knocking at my door at 6 a.m. I need another group of motherfuckers knocking on my door at 6:30. Nah, miss me with that, man. I can't see what value it brings other than just making a few people on the internet happy. And even still, that's not going to make them happy at all.
Yeah.
You know, and granted, Jon Jones has brought a lot of this on himself.
Oh yeah.
Jon Jones and his team have invited a lot of this. So I'm by no means trying to absolve him of his sins. But at the same time, man, he's done exactly what he was supposed to do. Why the fuck is he trying to do some more? No. I'm sorry. And especially with, such an important fight coming right up. This is just another distraction. Why? Why bother? Why bother? Let USADA and the UFC do what they've been doing. And if they can't catch him on something, they can't catch him on something. It's a wrap. Hey, clean. Wash my hands of it. Done, son.
I would like to make it clear for the record, you did not categorically disagree with me. You sort of agree with me because I said he doesn't have to do it. So there you go.
I categorically don't know what to say next because you're probably right. I didn't think it through, but didn't it sound dramatic?
It was good. It was courtroom.
It was like, I categorically deny this, and it was really impassioned. And you know what? That's what Sherdog needs. We need passion. You need to feel that, just the emotion. You feel that, man? I love this MMA shit, bro. I'm feeling brolic right now. Let me take a sip of my whiskey. Shit. Also,
Jake, will you agree with me? The whiskey is getting to Anthony. Agree with me yesterday.
Oh, no. Dude, I'm good, man. I'm experienced. My liver is strong, bro. I'm good. Me and the wife about to go on a little mini vacation tomorrow. Man, I'm good to go.
Where are you going?
I'm feeling.
Not told me about this vacation.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Big Bear for a couple days. So yeah, little cabin, just gonna chill out and hang out.
Hang out with Tito Ortiz, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna go running in the hills.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna train like Rocky for about 48 hours, and then I'm gonna get back to being a sloth. So yeah, man. So all right, so let's move on here. What is our next question? I see. Oh wow, I'm feeling this name right here. GSP says, what happened to the California State Athletic Commission wanting Jones to get new management before getting licensed? I don't know, man. Like, if you are expecting some of these athletic commissions, and California is normally on point. California deserves to be commended for a lot of good things they do in the sport, but sometimes, man, these athletic commissions, they just like to hear their own voices. Like, I mean, and quite honestly, I do think it would be very beneficial if Jon Jones had some new people around him. It would be very beneficial. But hey, he's going to do what he's going to do, and that's it. Like the commission really, as far as I know, the commission doesn't have a right to tell you what your management needs to be, unless your management is connected to some sort of criminal thing, or if there are definite ties with management that create conflicts of interest in the sport and whatnot. Maybe they can have a say, but shit, that's his personal business, man. They don't have no say in that. So that's another one of those things is, Jon Jones, you know what you should do? You would make us really happy if you get new management. And he sits there and said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. I'll take that under consideration. And then he walks out of that damn room and he calls Malky and he's just like, yeah, man, they try to hit me with that bullshit, man. I'll see you later. That's what that is. That's load of horse shit. Don't take anything from it. What say you on this matter, sir?
I mean, personally, I didn't even know that was supposed to be a guideline of the decision. But in the end, I think you nailed it. I don't think they have any right to legally make him do that. It was probably more like a stern suggestion. We would like you to do this. And he, just like you said, yeah, sure, guys. And then, but yeah, I wouldn't have taken that seriously anyway. I would have been shocked if it even happened.
Yeah, man, I tell you, nothing's funnier to me than seeing an athletic commission just bend over and grab their ankles for some of these guys that can make them money. I swear. What a damn joke some of these commissions can be sometimes. How? Please explain that to me. I just don't get it. Like, oh, Jon Jones, you know what? You should take this voluntary test. You got it. Fuck out of here. Like, do they really think? Like, do they really think that they just curry? It's crazy. It's simply wanting to hear your own voice. That's all it is. The only way this would make me more upset if this were Nevada. If this were Nevada, I'd probably be in a rage and like punching the wall or something, right? Like, this is madness. But I give California and Andy Foster a lot of credit for a lot of good things they've done. For instance, trying to fix some of the weight cutting issues and at least trying different things and experimenting and seeing what works and what's healthier for the fighters. That should be very well commended. They are on point. Like California in particular is one of those commissions like New Jersey, whatever, that is very on point. And normally if you run an event in California, it has to be on the up and up to the point where I forget what promotion it is that's so trash, but they don't even recognize their events because they are so horribly mismatched and whatnot. So they are among more the guys who get it right. But man, they're an athletic commission run by the government, so they will fuck it up sometimes. And in these strong suggestions about this, while at the same time we hand you your license, sorry, just no, not convincing. Hard pass. All right, so let's see here. Our next question is from the real Kuso, who says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that Jones will test positive for PEDs before his fight? I know for the camera didn't pan back to you, but I'll just communicate.
I'll do double up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
0 chance. Like I think I don't think that should be a concern. USADA or the UFC or the commissions or a combination of all three, or at least for outward appearances, going to be all over this, and he's gonna go through the motions. It's that simple. He's going through the motions. I don't think there's any reason. In fact, we should just leave this behind now. We should leave this behind now. Let him compete. He's been cleared. However dubious the circumstances may be, he's been cleared to compete. He's got a fight coming up next weekend. Should be an exciting one. It's one we've wanted to see for a while. So, hey, let it happen. Let it happen. And if he tests again for PEDs, all right, then we really need to make sure that we're not taking any excuses. It's no more dick pills. It's no more, I don't know what happened, and the Torino ball just was slipped into my dinner the night before weigh-ins. Like, we don't need, like, at that point, you've run out of all your chances. But let it go on. Let it happen. And let's run with innocent until proven guilty for his upcoming booking. So I'm willing to try to give him the benefit of the doubt this time.
Yeah.
Just let it rock. We'll see what happens. Anything you want to add to that, Jason?
No, I just 0 chance. It's not gonna happen. At least not this time.
Yeah. I think they'll be on point with this. All right. So next question from 91 seconds. Why don't they suspend? Whoa, what the hell? Oh shit, I read this wrong. Oh, here we go. Why do they suspend dirty fighters but not dirty refs like Herb Dean? Whoa, dirty ref though?
Yeah,
that is.
I don't know.
All right, come on.
This is a trolley question here.
Yeah, man, I can't rock with you on that, bro. Like a dirty ref, like you can question some things that Herb Dean has done, some decisions he's made, like the the CB Dalloway fight from a couple months ago that I was about to punch my TV, and like we've seen questionable things happen from every ref, and Herb Dean is not excluded from that list by any stretch of the imagination. But dirty, like no, I'm sorry, I can't entertain this any further. Like no.
I mean, all I will say is that for the extreme cases that we've all seen on social media, where like some guys just getting, there was one recently too, the guy was just getting pummeled and his referee would not stop it. For those extremes, like the extreme of testing positive for a drug is you get suspended. Yeah, they should get suspended, but the extreme, otherwise it's a tough job. If they make some crazy decision, they maybe want to get fine them for something, sure. But I don't understand. Like just 91 seconds can be 0 seconds right now.
Are you talking about that LFA fight?
Is that what it was?
I believe it was LFA. I saw that clip on Twitter, and I wanted to puke, man. Yeah, that was some of the worst reffing I've ever seen in my life. What a trash, horrible ref. A guy like that, get him all the way the fuck up out the sport.
And if the commission didn't,
man, that motherfucker shouldn't be allowed to watch fights ever again. Yeah. Like, he shouldn't be allowed in a bar that's got a fight on and a small TV in the back. This motherfucker needs to watch My Little Pony or something. Like, that's it. That's the only thing he should be allowed to do. Get all the way the fuck up out of here if that's how you ref. Fuck that guy. That is trash.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, that was so fucking disgusting. God forbid a ref that bad make it to a level where he is reffing Edson Barboza versus Dan Hooker. God forbid, because somebody will die.
Yeah,
if you got somebody that's that shitty, get him all the way the fuck up out of here. In fact, we're gonna call out his name because Jay just threw his name out to me. His name is Joe Phipp. Joe Phipp fucking sucks. Joe Phipp is trash. You don't belong in the sport. No, sorry, my guy. It's not you. It's not you.
Yeah.
When you have a ref doing some shit like that, he needs to be suspended. He needs to be questioned. He needs to be fined. Something needs to happen. Some sort of accountability. I'm not going to throw that label out there on Herb Dean. Herb Dean has made some bad decisions, and somebody need to pull him aside and be like, hey, what the fuck was you up to? That CB Dalloway fight being one of them. But overall, his track record looks a lot better. His track record overall is pretty damn good. But there needs to be some level of accountability. So when you have a Joe Phipp making a mistake like that, he's not given the chance to do it again. And if you do let him back in that cage, he's been disciplined, he's been counseled, he's been retrained, something to make sure it doesn't happen again. But if I see that motherfucker next week reffing something, I will kick a damn hole in the wall.
You gonna fuck up Phipp?
No, I ain't gonna fuck up Phipp. Phipp might be trained, so I might be pumping smoke and somebody might whoop my ass. So let me calm that down. Let me calm that all the way down. Phipp might have them hands, man. I don't know, man. I ain't gonna go out like no bitch. Like I'm a whole mine, but no, I'm good. I'm good, Phipp. You just suck at reffing. You might be a nice guy. In fact, you know what? We should have some whiskey together.
Yes.
Whiskey unites us all. All right. So let's move on from that before I get agitated again, or before Joe Phipp kicks my ass. All right. So Jack on Fire, another frequent contributor. Shout out to Jack on Fire. Appreciate you, brother. Luke Rockhold is again talking about moving up to light heavyweight. Do you think that will be a good idea? How do you see him doing there? Yes, it's a good idea. What do you say, Jason?
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's a large guy for 185 pounds. Who knows how much the weight cutting affects him. And, you know, he's still very fast, very athletic for even at middleweight. But, you know, sometimes there's an idea that even weight cutting can affect the chin, so to speak, and that you're draining so much. You're probably draining everywhere, maybe even the brain, you know, on some level. So, yeah, why not? I mean, he's getting knocked out at middleweight from time to time. It's going to happen light heavyweight, but maybe he goes up there. He's already big. He's already long. He's rangy. He's fast. Yeah, it could be very exciting. I was hoping for that Gustafsson fight, him and Gustafsson fight. That would have been really cool. And it's a lot of exciting matchups. You know, a former middleweight in Thiago Santos, him and Manuel, him and Volkan Ozdemir are really fun. Lear Latifi. There's a lot of fun matchups in the division. Oh, imagine him. You know, they want to see if Dominic Reyes is legit. Bam, Dominic Reyes versus Luke Rockhold. That'd be fun. It doesn't mean Dominic Reyes is a title defender, but that'd still be fascinating. Dominic Reyes, very athletic, big, strong versus Luke Rockhold. That'd be interesting too. So yeah, why not? What's the real question is what's taking so long? I mean, he's got the shin injury thing, which is really effed up his career of late. But yeah. Yeah, please, next fight, light heavyweight for Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, man, I don't want to see him fight at middleweight anymore. Yeah. Like it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you look at, and I think we've talked about this on the show before. If not, we've definitely talked about this in private. Like
not going down, going up.
Going up in weight, because especially at light heavyweight, which is a ghost town. The top of light heavyweight is just a complete ghost town. So it's wide open. Why not make that move? And clearly it's not working at 185. You know, if you are battling injuries, you're battling all these ailments that seem to keep coming up. Cutting weight is not going to help that at all.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, cutting weight is probably just going to make a lot of it worse. And then also, I'd like to see the athletic changes that we might see from Rockhold at a higher weight class, because, hey, maybe a lot of his training is not going to be just trying to cut down the weight. Maybe he does more strength training. Maybe we see a stronger version of him. Maybe we see a version of him that's more explosive, that is more dynamic. That sounds really exciting to me.
Yeah.
And then you pair him up with a guy like Dominic Reyes. You pair him up with an OSP. You pair him up with Gusty. You pair him up with some interesting people there, and we could have some really exciting matchups. And before we know it, I mean, Rockhold is clearly a guy who the UFC likes. You know, he's clearly a guy that can put butts in seats. He's clearly a guy that's marketable, especially if you're trying to buy some Calvin Klein draws. I mean, Rockhold is a guy you can sell. So why not? Why not throw him in a shallow division, see what he can do? At the very least, if we got, would you be mad about a Luke Rockhold versus Jon Jones fight? I'm not mad at that.
Especially with the DC connection, with the DC AK connection. Yeah, that'd be fun, actually.
It sells itself. It sells itself. And at the same time, Rockhold doesn't have to kill himself to get there. And I don't know if you've seen him in person. I have on a few occasions. That guy is massive. He is a huge human being. My at the gym I'm training at now, my new instructor, he was saying he said like Rockhold came to train at that gym one time, and he said he doesn't watch a lot of MMA. So he heard his name, but he didn't recognize him. But he just said this massive human being just walked into the place and just took up all the room. And then somebody told him that was Luke Rockhold. I was like, oh, okay, that's a big dude. Like this guy fights at 185.
Yeah.
You know, he's a massive human being who is not doing his long-term health any favors by insisting on making middleweight. Chase another belt, man. Go up to light heavyweight. There's some new matchups there. There's some fresh takes that you can do. There's some new things you might be able to do in training that might pay off. So why not? I'm there for it. All right, so we're going to move on to what appears to be our final question for the evening. And once again, the fourth man of the trenches, Europe One, blesses us with another treat. So his question is, who is the biggest threat to the UFC champions in their respective divisions between Dillashaw, Holloway, Khabib, Woodley, and Whitaker? Man, I love this question. It's a whole lot to unpack. So let's take it one bit at a time. Let's go with Dillashaw. Jason, who is or what is the biggest threat to Dillashaw's reign as the bantamweight champion?
It's a tough. I mean, there are some legitimate threats. I really like a Sun Tzu. I really like Sergio Moraes. The Garbrandt thing is done. It's a shame Dominic Cruz is injured again. Lineker is always fought. I tell you, I think the only threat to him may really just be disinterest. You know, like gets disinterested in division. And we're seeing a little bit by going down to 125 to fight Sandro Cejudo. So I think he may be his own best opponent, and that he loses interest. He starts moving around. He does other thing. He affects his body in a certain way. Then he goes back up, fights this guy, does that. So I don't see a clear-cut guy on the horizon. I'd like a Sun Tzu Moraes, but I do not think they can beat him. You know, what was the Jimmy Rivera's out of the picture. He lost. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think his biggest threat is himself and just getting bored.
You know what? I don't think getting bored would be a thing with Dillashaw. One thing that I got from speaking to Dillashaw, and especially from speaking to his coach Dwayne Ludwig, is that they look at martial arts like a puzzle, and they have fun with that shit. And it was a very refreshing take to discuss this with both of them separately, and their excitement. Like, you should have seen Ludwig's eyes light up when he's discussing the possibilities of what Dillashaw is capable of as a martial artist. They are looking at this like Bruce Lee putting together the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Like, that's the vibe I got, where it's like they're trying to piece together a masterpiece. And these fights along the way are just there as tests for what they've been trying to put together. And I think when you have a formula like that, boredom is not going to be the thing. I think the thing is running into the guy who might be your athletic superior or might be your superior in a martial arts standpoint. Now, looking at the division, I don't really see a guy that's capable of it. Mm-hmm. Of course, if you put Garbrandt in there for a third time, he's got enough power to where he could change it around. But we've seen him get knocked out twice. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah, he's going to have to do
Dominic
a lot
Cruz
to get that shot.
big time. And Cruz can't stay healthy long enough, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
A Sun Sal might be interesting, but I think at this point, I think a Sun Sal, as deserving as he is of a title shot, and I'll be the first to jump on the top of a mountain and scream that he needs to be fighting for the bantamweight title. I don't think he's going to be able to get it done.
And he lost him already too.
Yeah, he lost. Well, they're 1-1, and if they fought again, it would be a trilogy fight, and he's very deserving of that. So, but I would favor Dillashaw in that off the top of my head. Marlon Moraes is probably the guy that I would be most worried about for Dillashaw, because he's so explosive, because his striking is so dynamic. And, with a guy like Mark Henry backing him, he's going to fight very smart. He's had some pretty savage knockouts too in his career. So maybe I would like to see a guy like Aljamain Sterling get some technical aspects in order. I think he can provide the athletic challenge, but honestly, TJ Dillashaw, man, looks like he's going to lord over this division for a bit, and his biggest threat might just be disinterest eventually. I don't think that's going to happen just
so
yet.
You agreed with me. I knew you would.
You know what? Maybe disinterest is the wrong word.
It's the right word.
That was a long ass way to say, yeah, you're probably right. But I don't think he's going to be disinterested anytime soon. I just think that he.
Fair enough.
Maybe he cleans out the division, and then maybe he looks for challenges at featherweight.
Yeah, if he beats Moraes, disinterest is right around the corner.
Yeah, I see more likely that he cleans out the division and then he goes to featherweight and tries his luck there, if anything. So, so that's where we'll stick. Now, let me look at. Oh shit! I done pressed the button wrong. All right, who's the next champion that we're supposed to be talking about? Holloway. Oh yeah, that's right. You can look at this shit too. All right. So Holloway's threaten the division. I mean, once again, I don't see a guy at featherweight that really is going to that I could favor. Now let me double check this. The Frankie Edgar fight is a fresh matchup, but Holloway probably wins that. Hanato Moicano would be interesting, but I still see Holloway outclassing him. Chad Mendez, if he gets past Volkanovski, that could be interesting, but Holloway wins that one in my opinion as well. Yeah. So once again, I think the greatest threat to Max Holloway's crown is the lure of fighting at lightweight.
I think that and just his body. His body is at some point going to force him. I know he's been doing good things. He's working with the right nutritionist, but his body has been telling him for a little while it might be time to leave. He's too big for the division. He's just too, especially if he's talking about 180 one day. Clearly, your body is not really for 180, 145. It only gets harder the older you get. So I agree with you. It's the lure of going up to be a two-division champion, and just his body is who's to know if he doesn't get another injury just because he's trying to maintain this weight. So that.
Yeah. So next champion, Khabib Nurmagomedov. What do you think his biggest threat to his crown is?
I really still genuinely do feel Tony Ferguson can be the guy. I mean, we know it's not going to be Conor. Dustin Poirier will be interesting. I still think he'd get out wrestled, but in the end, the fight still has to start standing. We talked about Ike Quinta earlier, Kevin Lee. I still think Tony Ferguson could really be the guy. I'm dying for that fight. I've wanted that fight more than him versus Conor, despite all the dolly into the window nonsense. I really feel Tony Ferguson is a unique guy that he's got a chin and a half. He's got a gas tank and a half. And he's tricky as hell on the ground. He's not going to lie there and just get beat up like a Barboza, like a Conor. This guy's going to be moving around. This guy's going to try to sweep. He's going to be throwing elbows, and he's not going to get tired. I could really see that fight, and it'd be so epic. He goes 3 rounds. Khabib is just pounding away at him. Tony's eating it, smiling in his face. And in the 4th round, this guy Khabib starts to waver a little bit, and Tony comes on, and it could be freaking crazy those 4th and 5th rounds with Tony pushing a crazy pace, pushing hard, taking shots. I think think Tony Ferguson could be the guy. And I like Khabib. I like both of them. That's the fight that needs to happen. I know there's worries about the injuries that canceled 3 other opportunities, but that fight needs to happen. I need to see these 2 men that are pure fighting forces of nature and indomitable wills clash. I have to see it. I have to.
Yeah, if we don't get the Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov fight, what the hell are we doing this for? Just why? Why? Like, just turning your press pass, bro. It's a wrap. This sport sucks if this fight doesn't happen. So now, Tony Ferguson aside, like, I definitely agree with you, your assessment on that. The one hang up I have with Tony Ferguson is that he's always so willing to fight a guy at his strength just because he's a knucklehead. Only for that reason, because he just likes that shit. He's a maniac. He is an absolute maniac. Somebody that I'm close with, that's a part of his camp, you know, tells me, hey man, this dude is nuts. Like, he's like, I love the guy, but he is nuts. And that's like, and Tony Ferguson lives that shit. He lives that shit. So he definitely could do it. He could make it happen. I got to see it. Dustin Poirier, I think, might be a serviceable enough challenge. But Khabib also, I see Khabib kind of overwhelming him over time. If the Conor McGregor that dispatched Eddie Alvarez were to return, that would be something. But I think that guy is probably long gone.
And even his coach seems to think that he might be gone, with that whole thing with Kavanaugh saying he doesn't want to corner him again.
I think that was. I did reach out to someone, you know, kind of circling around that camp, and they were like, don't think anything of it. It was more so that he just is afraid of Conor taking unnecessary damage because he has enough money to where he doesn't have to fight anymore. So under that, I was like, all right, cool. I'll rock with that. Really, when I look at the top 10 in the lightweight division, the one name that sticks out to me is Justin Gaethje. That is the one name, because while that might not be the matchup that we really envision, he is a strong enough wrestler to where he probably can keep his standing long enough. He's sneakily strategic with the leg kicks, with the power shots in the pocket. He's a much better striker than Khabib, without even necessarily worrying about getting taken down and you know, trying to hold back from his style. He's a guy who fights in a very risk-adverse manner, and that just might be it. He's already got a granite chin, and he just might have enough dynamite in his fist to shock the world if you put him in the circumstance. If he fights his way to a title shot, that's another thing. If he's able to get to that mountain, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you put him there, that is the guy that I see in the top 10 that has the biggest chance. But once again, the main threat for Khabib, besides Tony Ferguson, just might be the lure of either retirement or moving up in weight. You know, because he's a guy who's had issues making 155. So that's that. Our next guy, Tyron Woodley. The biggest threat to Tyron Woodley's reign, in my opinion, is Dana White's temperament. If Dana White just says, hey, this guy doesn't want to fight, despite the fact he just fought on short notice a few weeks ago or a few months ago, and broke his hand in the process. If he just decides that isn't good enough, and then he wants to strip him, because the UFC is all about stripping people unnecessarily, or all about throwing out these title belts unnecessarily and whatnot, I would be very, very, I could say, not surprised to see Dana White just get pissed off one day and decide, oh, I'm going to strip Woodley because it's Tuesday. Like, that wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world. I don't see anyone in the welterweight top 10 other than maybe Ponzinibbio really giving him some go. And even then, I would still favor Woodley. So, yeah, Dana White is the biggest threat to Woodley's crown, if you ask me. What do you say, sir?
For me, simply age. Guy's going to be 37 years old in April. He's had 2 shoulder surgeries, a career of wrestling. You know, he's still so good at his age. He is, because he's a phenomenal athlete. But that's the crazy thing about Father Time. It, like we talked about, I think it was last week maybe, or the week before, like, it just creeps on you so fast. Like, you are the dominant star one day, and then the next week, the next fight, you are just so human all of a sudden. And age comes up so fast. I think that's what it is. Like, I really see him being a guy that he's just going to get old all of a sudden. And, it's just a question of who is the young fighter that gets to take advantage. Is it going to be Usman? Possible. I don't think Ponzinibbio is a real threat, but I think Ponzinibbio could be that guy that he gets a chance on the right night and he knocks him out and looking like Nate Marquardt back in Strikeforce. So I think age is his biggest thing, because along with looking at the current champions, I mean, he's by far the oldest guy there. It's him and DC. They're both closing on 40. Everybody else, I think, is fairly in maybe, early 30s area, maybe creeping toward mid-30s. But, I mean, he's an older guy, and that's always a danger at the highest levels. Age is a serious factor.
Yeah, that's a good observation there. Our next is the middleweight champion, Robert Whittaker. What do you think is his biggest threat to the title?
I really think Gaslam's interesting. I think he will give him a run, but outside of that, it's fascinating because looking at the stats, he's fought Romero twice and got the W. Luke Rockhold, we just talked about, he's leaving. He's currently, for at least the UFC rankings, he's third. Sousa's there, but they fought already. And he beat him pretty soundly the first time. You got Gaslam, who's 4. When your 4th guy is getting a title shot, that just shows you the lack of serious contenders in the division. Weidman, Weidman just, I don't know he might be leaving the division as well. Adesanya could be the guy. Costa, there's some interesting guys in the waiting. Adesanya could be very interesting. I think that's probably a clear threat. Costa's a clear threat. I always feel like when it comes, more times than not, like when it comes to such great strikers, it's not like necessarily always wrestling is going to beat them. Sometimes just you got to get another striker that's just as good, and they can do it. Sort of like a Dillashaw or like Cody Garbrandt did with Diamond Cruz. A lot of us thought, somebody can just maybe wrestle him to the ground, stop all that movement. Nobody can deal with all that movement. Somebody came along and dealt with it real well. Chuck Liddell, that's how he ended up losing the first time. So yeah, maybe Adesanya is that guy. I'm unfortunate that the test that could get him the title is old Anderson, who's like 1-5-1 or whatever in his last bunch. But Adesanya is pretty interesting. Costa as well.
Adesanya, I can feel you on that. Costa, I don't think is a threat to Whittaker. Mm-hmm. I think Whittaker smokes him if you put them in the same cage. Adesanya could be interesting. Jared Cannonier is another one that stands out to me. We've seen some growth with him. The way he was able to beat David Branch, who is a grossly underrated middleweight, was very impressive. And some good things can happen to him. Him coming into his own in this new body, and just enjoying a particular level of fitness that he's never had, along with an increasing skill set. That could be something, but yeah, I'll stick with that. I don't really don't know where else to go with that one. Let's see. Now, I think that was the last one. Yeah, he didn't ask about Cormier, because that's we know the answer to that, age and Jon Jones. Yeah. So I guess that just might wrap it up for this week's edition of The Trenches. So, Jason, please tell the good folks where they can find you. Please tell us what you have coming up for Sherdog.com as well.
As always, Cheap Seats Chat, as it is listed here on Twitter and Instagram. Today, my interview with Lance Palmer from a few weeks ago was finally released, talking about the PFL Championship. You should see a lot of PFL 2018 Championship stories coming up. You got the Lance Palmer, my second chat with Ray Cooper. I chatted with him after the Jake Shields win way back months ago. Ray Cooper. I got Lewis Taylor, great story, Chicago guy. I got Steven Seiler. He's fighting Lance Palmer, and Vinny Magalhaes, who was real cool to talk to this past week. All those stories should be coming next couple of weeks, right before the PFL Championship, which is on the New Year's Eve, and that's pretty much it. I'm all quoted up. I'm all good to go for this month. So you're just gonna see PFL 2018 Championship stories the rest of the way into the end of the year, and just happy New Year. I'll talk to all of you later, but Merry Christmas, happy late Hanukkah to everybody, and Kwanzaa, Three Kings, whatever you're celebrating in the next week or so.
All right, so. My name is Anthony Walker, also known as Ant Walker MMA on Twitter and Instagram, which I still don't really update the Instagram a whole lot. I'll try, but I'm kind of trash at Instagram. But anyway, so what I have coming up It depends on how I feel. Ask Ant might be written. It might not. I don't know what to say. I don't know, man. I don't know, because I got to pack a little bit. I got some things to do. My wife should be home in any minute, and I don't want to get yelled at because I'm dealing this fight shit all the time. So if my wife lets me, I'll write Ask Ant. If not, hey, I'll catch you on the flip side. But also, yes, next week I will be in Vegas for UFC 232. So this will be a special edition. Now, I am going to be broadcasting along with the Captain Credential himself, Jason Burgos, from Vegas, from my lodging situation there. So shout out to my homeboys. Let me crash over there. Oscar, what up, G? And yeah, so that's that. Let's see what else. There's no major fight for Good, Bad, and the Ugly. So I'm gonna be in Big Bear. I'm gonna have more of this good old whiskey. And I'm gonna do the good husband thing and just chill out with my wife and enjoy. We come back and the holidays will be upon us, and take the lady to Disneyland or something. And yeah, I'm gonna just try to be a good guy. Something that y'all probably didn't think I was capable of because I'd be yelling and cussing so much. But I swear I'm really a good guy. All right, man. So tune in next week for a special edition of The Trenches. But I'm Anthony Walker. He is Jason Burgos. As always, we appreciate everyone tuning in. We appreciate your questions. Please keep them coming. You know where to find us on Twitter. You know where to find us on Instagram. Tune in. Check out Sherdog.com for the latest and greatest that we have to offer, along with the other great writers that we have there as well. In the meantime, y'all have a great night. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy your holidays. Enjoy your families. Tell everybody that you love them even harder. Do what you're supposed to do. Be good people out there. You know what else you got to do. You got to stay sexy. It's essential. Until then, peace. Love y'all.